Remember, guys, the other day we covered a story about there was a missile attack from North Korea that went over Japanese skies and then landed in the ocean past Japan. But there were missile alarms going off all over Japan because there was an incoming missile, right? They didn't know it was going to fly over until it flew over. And so that was a huge story. There was a minute there where people thought, holy shit, is this World War III? What the fuck's going on here? Well, since then, that's happened a number of times, with South Korea as well. And now I guess you're at the point where you read something and you're like, okay, it's probably a false alarm again, so it doesn't land as hard as the first one did. But things are not in good shape over there. So this is in BNO News. They say tensions rise on Korean Peninsula. North Korea fires 18 missiles into the sea. 18 missiles. In response to U.S. South Korean drills. Biggest volley of missiles since 1953. Triggering air raid sirens in the south. 100 artillery rounds fired into buffer zone. Oh boy. South fires 3 missiles in show of force. So things are kind of, spiraling out of control a little bit over there. That's what it looks like to me. So I have this video as well. I don't think you speak in English, but we'll play it. But this is South Korea's defense minister.
Secretary Austin and I affirmed that any nuclear attack by the DPRK, including the use of tactical nuclear weapons, is unacceptable and result in the end of Kim Jong-un regime by the overwhelming and decisive response of the alliance. This is a strong warning against the DPRK.
So I don't know if they're saying if they even do a nuclear missile test that they're going to overthrow them, or if they mean no, it has to be an attack. It's unclear what they mean. But basically what they're saying is, look, if anything nuclear goes on here, we're going to topple your ass. That's what they're saying. When you're at the point that you have to go out and say this shit in a press conference, dog, oh, that is not good. That is not good. The world is spiraling out of control, if I don't say so myself. And then we also have this. North Korea warns U.S. and South Korea will find out they made an irrevocable and awful mistake by extending military drills. Pak Jong-chan, secretary of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, made public, that's North Korea, the following press statement on Thursday. It was reported that the U.S. and South Korea decided to extend the combined air drill vigilant storm. It is a very dangerous and false choice. The irresponsible decision of the U.S. and South Korea is shoving the present situation caused by provocative military acts of the Allied forces to an uncontrollable phase. The U.S. and South Korea will get to know what an irrevocable and awful mistake they made. See, the thing that's so frustrating about all of this is this does genuinely feel like one of those situations where if you just had an open line of communication and you were going back and forth all the time with North Korea, all of this seems like it could have been avoided, right? Like they view these South Korean and U.S. military drills as provocative and as dangerous and as offensive in nature. Like, hey, they're practicing for an offensive invasion against us, an attack against us. And so in response to those drills, they do a lot of missile tests, and they shoot the missiles over Japan, and they shoot the missiles over South Korea or near South Korea. They fire into the buffer zone. And so this is how things spiral out of control. I think people genuinely think there's like a cartoonish version of history where everything is very clearly delineated. Like, this is when this thing started. But really, it's only in retrospect you realize, that actually was the start of the thing. Like, for example, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in World War I. Like, at the time, people probably didn't think nearly as much of it as it became known as. It became known as, this is the very beginning of World War I. Holy fucking shit. But at the time, I don't know if people really saw it in that way. It was just like, damn, this crazy thing happened. That's fucking wild. I wonder what's going to happen now. Like, it wasn't like, this is it. We're now in World War I. And I feel like there's a lot of shit going on like that right now as well, with Russia and Ukraine, for example, and U.S. involvement in that, and funding the military of Ukraine, and giving them certain weapons, and I think people only in retrospect realize, fuck, maybe that one we went too far, and it's like, well, what are the fucking consequences of that? And a little bit of restraint on either side could have avoided a worst case scenario, and so. Look, what's the answer? Well, first and foremost, you just pick up the fucking phone. Talk to your counterpart in North Korea if you're a top official in the U.S. figure out exactly what the beef is, what's going on, what's the problem. Because can we really fucking afford this now, too? Could we afford some sort of a war in Korea? And, you know, North Korea, I don't know how far along they are with nuclear weapons. Are they far along enough where they actually fucking have them and they're functioning? Because do you want potential for a nuclear explosion there and hundreds of thousands or millions dead there? I mean, really, what are we talking about here? Everything is so reckless. Shit, man. We gotta negotiate down. You gotta put the safety and security of everybody involved at the forefront. And it just seems like that's not the case. Because both sides think like, well, my only answer here, the only thing I can do is to show our strength. And then they both do that, and then eventually it gets to a place where there's no coming back from. And that's got to be avoided, man. That's got to be avoided. I know I sound like a typical, you know, hippie, like, bro, give peace a chance, bro. I know I sound like a typical hippie douchebag right now, but look, sometimes the hippie douchebag is correct. Listen to fake Slim Shady with his fucking, with his hair, all right? For the love of God. Let's back away from the brink. We cannot afford any more of this shit going on. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.